Greetings and welcome to the channel. Welcome to Inner Mileage. My name is Dr. Nana Gyesie, transformational coach here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks optimize and transform their lives. And today we're going to be talking about how the law of assumption, not the law of attraction, the law of assumption enables you to overcome your limiting beliefs, your trauma, and live a resonant life. How the law of assumption enables you to overcome your trauma, your limiting beliefs, and live a resonant life. Now, the law of assumption was coined by American mystic Neville Goddard, who relocated to the United States. And the law of assumption is based on the idea that what you assume to be true in your mind becomes reality. Whatever you assume to be true in your mind becomes your reality. And if I may add a layer to that, it's whatever you assume to be true, particularly in your subconscious mind, because that's where the processes that dictate what we do consciously live. And if you're not aware of what's going on there, that's what you attract. And instead of focusing on attracting what you want by maintaining a positive vibration, a la the law of attraction, the law of assumption is more direct. It invites you to become the person who already has what you desire. It's less about attracting something from the outside and more about embodying it from within you. It's an inside game, the law of assumption. And it operates on the premise that your assumptions about your life create your reality. For example, if you think that you are healed, successful, worthy, loved, then you begin to shape the thoughts and emotions around these truths. That whatever you start believing is true is what manifests. So if you believe life is hard and continues to be hard, then that's what you're going to manifest. If you believe life is difficult and it will continue to show up that way. If you believe it's hard because I'm a non-binary person, or I'm a woman, or I'm a person of color, therefore it's all hard, then it will be hard. And this has nothing to do with what's going on externally. We're strictly focused on the messaging within you that you're using. The messaging within you that you're using. And in fact, the law of assumption states even further that instead of really focusing on I want to attract this, become what it is that you desire. And it's not about faking it till you make it. It's more about becoming the embodiment of, you've often had the trope, dress for the level that you want to be at if you want to be promoted. And in many ways, that's what the law of assumption is. Now, further, it operates on a very, very powerful premise that whatever you assume, particularly what you assume in your subconscious mind, you make your reality. Now, you might be thinking, fine, how really different is the law of assumption from the law of attraction? Are they even different at all? And yes, they are. For starters, number one, the law of attraction focuses on attracting, whereas the law of assumption focuses on being. What does this mean? It means that the law of attraction focuses on drawing things to you by aligning your energy and thoughts with what you desire. Aligning your energy and thoughts with what you desire. It's about maintaining this vibrational state. So you become a vibrational match to what you seek. And it does work if you know how to maintain that. But the reason it doesn't work for a lot of people is because, and this is where the law of assumption comes in, is because it's very difficult to maintain that state. However, the law of assumption invites you to assume that the state of having your desire fulfilled is to live as if it were already true. The state of having your desire is to live as if it were already true. The second is, there's this notion of the law of attraction being impractical, whereas the law of assumption is rooted in reality and more practicality. In other words, the law of attraction often requires an effort to maintain a constant state of positivity. This state we can feel inauthentic for many people. especially when you're dealing with limited self-beliefs and trauma and generational cycles. Conversely, the law of assumption is more grounded. It doesn't ask you to suppress negative emotions, but rather it's about embracing this new identity that aligns with your desired reality. This feels more accessible. Right? It's almost like, when you go to kindergarten and the kids have a career day and some show up dressed up as doctors or race car drivers or superheroes. You find that generally that's how the law of assumption works. That often there's this child who dressed up as a doctor who ends up becoming a doctor because at the age of 5 or 6, they already assumed that they were. So everything they did was to that end. Even if they had challenges, the assumption was it's going to happen at some point. So they kept going on with it. This is where the law of assumption has more of a practical dimension versus a law of attraction where it's about affirmation and saying these things that may feel unnatural to a lot of people, even though we always affirm and say things to ourselves subconsciously. The law of assumption is about embodying the being. And so to be, you have to cut through your own assumptions and your own resistance to be something. And that's the only way to manifest that reality. Do you see? So for example, if you want to be healed, you have to think you're going to be healed. You really have to. I remember as a child, I always made the assumption I would work for a UN-related organization. And it was an assumption I had. I never wavered from it. And I ended up working in the World Bank system, right? So that's an example of the law of assumption at play. Further, the law of attraction focuses on attracting what you want, whereas the law of assumption requires you to transform yourself. In other words, the law of assumption is about inner transformation, whereas the law of attraction is about the external manifestation. So with the law of assumption, you have to become it. It's not about faking it, but you have to become the thing that you want to be. So how do you become the thing you want to be? You have to assume it. You have to do it. You have to be it. You have to start where you are. And day one will not be pretty, right? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish looks silly, right? But you have to keep trying and practicing until that assumption becomes baseline, de facto, baked into your way of being, a new program, a positive program, where you have become the programmer or the reprogrammer. Also, there's this notion of resistance, right? So with the law of attraction, one of the challenges of the law of attraction is it creates resistance for a lot of people. A good metaphysical approach to getting things, but it may become more focused on the thing you don't want. So for example, if somebody says, I want $1 million, and every day they affirm, I already have $1 million, I'm going to have $1 million. When they open their eyes and they look around them, there's nothing around them that looks like $1 million, so that vibration drops, and they have to do it again. And after a while, they don't believe it's true because I thought it, but nothing happened. Whereas that resistance is reduced in the law of assumption because it encourages you to act and feel as if your desired outcome has already happened. So for example, if you want to have a house in a zip code of your choice, in a very nice zip code, then you may look at your reality and say, well, I have a little bit of a down payment, but my income doesn't match and I have this and that. But go for open houses in that zip code. And putting yourself there now makes it real. Drive into that neighborhood and imagine yourself living in that place. Then when you are beginning to imagine that you deserve to be here, you can actually see yourself there. Then naturally, internally, you begin to take the steps that are necessary, inspired action to make your assumptions real. This is how it works. And in fact, the law of assumption particularly works in generational trauma because to end a generational cycle or trauma like narcissistic abuse, it's a cycle. And there's some ways the law of assumption can actually even help you do that. For example, identify the root belief. So the core belief that you have based on your trauma is why you live the way you do. So it might be something like, I'm not good enough, I'm going to get divorced, I don't deserve to be loved. And when you understand what the root cause, the root story, the root belief actually in your trauma is, you realize that these are assumptions that you're currently making, negative assumptions subconsciously that are keeping you trapped where you are. Now, when you realize this, the next step will be to create a new assumption statement. In other words, write down, for example, a new assumption that represents the reality that you want to live in. For example, I am worthy of unconditional love and respect. Or I am empowered to live my life freely and fully. These statements should be in the present tense, affirming that it's already your reality. So create a new assumption statement. Number 3, immerse yourself in this new reality. I give you the example of driving by the neighborhood, to going for the open house and things like that. Spend time each day visualizing yourself as this empowered person. How do you speak, act, and make decisions from this place of worthiness? Because it's a story, a program. And allow yourself to fully immerse in these feelings. This isn't just about thinking it's true, it's about feeling that it's true. And then when you've done this, then the next thing will be to reframe your negative thoughts, because we all have them, right? So you started with, oh, what's the root belief that I have? That's an assumption. Then create a new statement. And now you're immersing yourself in a new reality. Then after you immerse yourself in a new reality, you reframe your negative thoughts. For example, when old or limiting self-beliefs or thoughts or fears rise up, don't run away from them. Don't push them away. In fact, ask yourself, if I were already living this new reality, how would I respond now? If I was already a billionaire, how would I respond? If I already was a business owner, how would I respond? If I was already a wife, a mother, how would I respond? If I was already a husband, a father, how would I respond? If I achieved X, how would I respond? If I became X person, how would I respond? And this practice helps you to rewire the brain, because it's all programs and neural pathways, and create new pathways that are designed and aligned to your new reality. And it's going to take some effort, because it took a lot of time for you to let the root beliefs from your trauma take hold and take roots and get programmed to your subconscious mind. Therefore, to overcome it is a similar process, although you are not going to be able to catch the sneaky negative thoughts when they arrive. Then the next step will be to act in alignment. In other words, your actions should reflect this new reality. So if you're already telling yourself you're fit and you're still eating food that doesn't give you life, then you're not acting from the new assumption. But if you're already telling yourself you're fit, and most of the time you eat food that's life-giving, maybe occasionally you have a cheat day or two, then even though you may not be losing weight yet, your new actions are aligned to your new assumptions about who you are. Then finally, release all attachments to the how and when. So this is really the challenge with the law of attraction. The law of attraction is people visualize what they want, then they wake up and it's not there, so they start to ask themselves, when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? And guess what you're doing? You're now manifesting, when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? So you get a lot of, when is it going to happen? I don't know. And a lot of, how is it going to happen? Whereas with the law of assumption, you're trusting that the law of assumption works in its own time. So you release the need to control how and when your new reality will manifest. Know that by embodying this state, you're already on the path to realization. So it just means that you're staying in this belief that's already happened, and you take the necessary steps on a day-to-day basis, not worried about what the outcomes are, because you know it's already happened. Of course, you want to learn and iterate and shift if things are not working. But it's to remain in this place of knowing that whatever it is that you want has already happened. Because let me put it to you like this. Everything you want right now already exists. Everything you want, the new partner, the new job, the business, the new clients, the health, the wealth, the healing, whatever you want, the new car, the new house, the houses, relocation, working at a specific company, getting rid of a specific health constraint, whatever you want already exists somewhere. And there are people who already have what it is that you want, who went through a similar process of assumption to get it. So when you know this, then the next question becomes, then why don't I have what it is that I want? This is where the real work is. This is where you realize that your programming, your root beliefs, your values, your trauma is what creates static that blocks what you want from coming in. And the reason why this happens is because, on one hand, you may say, I want to be a business owner. But your root belief is nobody in my family was a successful business owner. Therefore, how will I be? And if that's your root assumption, you can never manifest a business, a successful business, because you, the authority, and you are an authority, have already convinced yourself based on the assumption that it wouldn't happen. You did that. Not some spell work, not bad luck, not circumstances. You did. You see, I have to point this out, that even in war zones, there's a joke, but it's not a joke, and I say it with a lot of temerity and care, that there's this saying that when there's blood on the streets, buy real estate. So even in war zones, there are people making profit. Some unscrupulous, but some very scrupulous. Even in countries that may not have the kind of economic circumstances or peaceful circumstances or framework to succeed in business, there are people in those countries who are successful and doing well. And you may argue some of them, there may be cronyism, there's corruption and bribery. Sure, those are practical realities. But the fact that there are people who exist in places where there may not be a lot of prosperity, who live in prosperity, shows you this, that there is the law of assumption at work. And when you look at countries where there may even be a lot of poverty because of bad governance, historical conditions, etc., etc., we're not getting into the politics. When you talk to the people there, are all the people optimistic, or are they all downcast about the nature of the reality? And how does that collective energy shape the nature of that country? So be mindful of the assumptions that you make about yourself, because you will make them true. And why do you make them true? Because you are the highest authority. That's how powerful you are. Especially when you're not even aware of how powerful you are and how powerful this tool we have here functions, the mind, consciousness. And when you learn how the mind functions, the mind can shift from becoming your worst enemy to becoming the best servant. Remember, you are the master of your mind, which is what the law of assumption is about, and not the other way around. That even though your mind creates 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, which can get you feeling disoriented, it is you who choose which thoughts to engage with, whether you do this consciously or unconsciously. Therefore, if the thoughts you're engaging with are keeping you limited, it is you who's doing that. But you are doing it unconsciously, but it doesn't change the responsibility that it is you who's doing that. You have to recall that Viktor Frankl wrote his classic book, Man's Search for Meaning, whilst in a concentration camp filled with death around the corner and despair and depression and sadness everywhere he looked. Yet he was able to write a book about transcending your circumstances, making assumptions that all is well and all is good. So you realize, in conclusion, as we end this video, that the law of assumption is a powerful, powerful tool for transformation, healing, and reclaiming your true self. I'll say that again. The law of assumption is a powerful tool for transformation, healing, and reclaiming your true self. It allows you to break free from the chains of generational cycles and generational trauma, such as narcissistic abuse, for example, and step into a new narrative, one where you are empowered, worthy, and whole. I remember this process is accessible to anyone and everyone, regardless of where you're from, as we've already demonstrated. It's about rewriting your story from inside out, from within to without. I want to thank you for sticking around this long. If you did, this message is especially for you. If this message resonated, like, share, and subscribe this video or to this channel, and share this with anyone you think might benefit from this. I want to conclude by asking you, what assumptions are you making about yourself, and how are those assumptions helping or harming you? Sending you best wishes, and get in touch if I can be of help. Details below, or type transform. Peace.